So I'm going to assume that you have no prior knowledge, and by the end of it, you'll be at a high intermediate level. So we'll start by teaching you how to set up a penetration testing lab and how to install the needed software so you can practice hacking safely. Once done, the course is divided into 4 main penetration testing sections. The first is the network hacking section, where you learn how networks work, how devices communicate with each other, and how to exploit this method of communication to control all the connections around you, crack Wi-Fi keys, and gain access to Wi-Fi networks, whether they use web, WPA or WPA2, and intercept data to capture usernames, passwords, chat messages, or anything that anybody does on the same network. Once done with this, we'll move to the gaining access section, where you'll learn how to gain access to servers and personal computers. So first, you'll learn how to gather comprehensive information about your target, discover vulnerabilities, and exploit them to gain full control over the target system. Not only that, but you'll also learn how to generate undetectable backdoors and use social engineering to deliver them to your target as a fake update or as a PDF or an image or any other file that they might be interested in. You'll also learn how to spoof emails so when they're delivered to your target, they appear as if they're sent from a friend, from their boss, or from any address that they're likely to interact with. Once done with all of this, we'll move to the post-exploitation section, where you'll learn what can you do with the access that you gained in the previous sections. So you'll learn how to interact with the file system, how to execute system commands, record keystrikes, open the webcam, and even use the hacked computer as a pivot to hack into other computers. Once done with all of this, we'll move to the website hacking section, where you'll learn how websites work, how to gather comprehensive information about a target website, and how to discover and exploit a number of dangerous vulnerabilities that allow you to gain full control over the target website. At the end of each section, you'll learn how to secure systems and secure yourself from the discussed attacks. Now, as I promised you, this course is going to be highly practical, but I also promised that I will not neglect the theory. Now, what we mean by hacking is being able to gain access to a system that you're not supposed to have access to. So, for example, logging into an email account that you're not supposed to have access to is considered hacking that account. Gaining access to a remote computer that you're not supposed to have access to is hacking that computer. Reading information that you're not supposed to be able to read, again, is considered hacking. So you can see that there is a large number of ways to hack into a system, and the word hacking can refer to a number of things, but the main concept is the same. Gaining access or being able to do things that you're not supposed to be able to do is considered hacking. Now, there are 3 main types of hackers. We have the black hat hackers. These are the bad people that hack systems illegally in order to steal money or to achieve their own illegal goals. The second part of hackers are the white hat hackers. So this is us. These people use the same techniques used by the black hat hackers, and they also hack into systems, but they only hack into systems that they have permission to hack in order to test the security of these systems. And finally, we have the gray hat hackers. These are a mixture of the two. So they'll hack into any system, even if they don't have permission to test the security of the system, but they will never steal money or damage that system, and in most cases they'll go ahead and tell the administrator of that system. But what they do is still illegal because they test the security of systems that they do not own or do not have permission to test. Now, one big question that people always ask is, why hacking? Why teach or learn hacking? Well, hacking is an existing industry. There are lots of job opportunities for ethical hackers, for people like us who would go ahead and test the security of systems to make sure that these systems are secure and not vulnerable to black hat hackers. There is actually a huge demand for ethical hackers these days because of the increased amount of hacking attacks. So we hear on the daily big systems and big companies are getting hacked. Not so long ago, Uber got hacked and information of more than 56 million users were exposed. So companies like Uber, Facebook, and Google, they hire hackers in order to try and hack into their systems and tell them where the weaknesses are so that they can fix it. They also have bug bounty programs where they literally ask all the hackers around the world to go ahead and try to hack into their websites and with their web applications. And if they could, they will pay them a bounty for the bugs that they find. The first penetration testing section in this course is going to be the network hacking section. The reason why I chose to start with this, because everything, if you think of it, is connected to a network. So whether your target is a personal computer, whether it's a server, whether it's a company, or even if it's just a website, all of these systems are actually connected to a network. Literally, when you just connect to the internet, you're connecting to a network because the internet is just a really, really big network. So it is very important that you understand how networks work and how devices communicate with each other before we actually move into the next sections. So this section is actually going to be divided into three subsections. In the first subsection, we're going to talk about all of the attacks that you can do before connecting to a network. So you literally just have a computer with a network interface, possibly a Wi-Fi adapter, and we're going to see what can you do now before even connecting to anything. In the second subsection, I'm going to show you how to crack Wi-Fi keys and gain access to Wi-Fi networks, whether they use WEP, WPA, or WPA2. Once you have the access, you can move to the third section, which will apply for both Wi-Fi and wired networks. All of the attacks that you'll learn in the third subsection apply whenever you are able to connect to the network, once you're able to gain access to the network. And here is where the real fun starts, because you're going to learn a number of powerful attacks that will allow you to intercept the connections in the network and capture everything sent in it, including usernames, passwords, URLs, chat messages, and so on. Not only that, but you'll also be able to modify data as it's being sent in the air. So you'll be able to control requests, serve people fake updates, inject evil code into the pages that they load, and so many other cool things. So everything in the third section will apply for both Wi-Fi and wired networks. The first penetration testing section in this course is going to be the network. Now, before we start talking about network hacking, you need to have a basic understanding on how networks work. Now, we all know that a network usually contains a number of clients connected to each other, and clients usually connect to a network in order to share data or share a resource. A really good example of a resource that we all have connected to networks in order to access is the internet. So we connect to Wi-Fi networks and even wired networks all the time just to access the internet. Now, all networks, whether it's Wi-Fi or wired, work on the same principle. They have a device that is considered a server. Now, in many cases, for example, in your home network, this server is your router. This is also referred to as an access point. Now, this router or server or access point is the only device that has access to the resource. So none of these clients have direct access to the resource, even after connecting to the network. The only way they can access the resource is through the access point. So let's say, for example, you're client number one and you connected to your home network over Wi-Fi or over Ethernet over a cable, and then you opened your browser and you typed google.com. What happens is your computer will send a request to the access point asking for google.com. The access point has access to the resource, which is the internet in this example, so it's going to go and look for google.com. It will receive google.com and it will forward that response to your computer, and as a result, you will see the website loading on your browser. So if you actually go to your router at home and look at it, you'll see at the back it's connected through a cable to the wall, and this is how it's getting its internet access. Therefore, it is the only device in your network that has direct access to the resource, and none of your computers, none of the computers connected to the network can access the resource or can access the internet without the router, without the access point. So the only way for all of the connected clients to access the resource is to go through the router. Now the data is transferred between the clients and the access point as packets. So you can think of all of these arrows as a series of packets being transmitted between the client and the router as requests and responses. Now in Wi-Fi networks, these packets are transmitted in the air. Therefore, if you have a wireless card and you're within range, you'll be able to capture all of these requests and responses. So basically, you'll be able to see anything that any computer connected to the same network as you does on the internet. Because they will have to send all of this data to the access point, and because they're sending this data in the air because you're in a Wi-Fi network, you'll basically be able to capture these requests and responses, and you'll be able to see the URLs they visit, the usernames, the passwords they enter, the chat messages, anything they do on the internet will be sent as packets, and therefore you'll be able to capture it and analyze it. We'll talk more about that and more about how networks work as we go through the course, but this is enough to get you going through the next few lectures so that you can sniff data, analyze it, and start launching some cool pre-connection attacks. When it comes to networking,